So let's go into our questions. We have a couple here prepared by the Chromedia team. Our first one is describe the origin or story of Chromedia in 3 words. I guess just think of concepts that come out at you. We'll go. Yeah.
Yeah, I think my 3 words would actually be 3 people.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah, and I would say Greg, and I would say Hazel, and Abby.
Got the pillars of Chromedia.
Yeah, if it wasn't for those 3 people, Chromedia of course would never be where it is today. So that's it.
Greg.
Very generously left yourself out of the 3
Yeah.
people.
Well, yeah.
You would have only had room for one other person.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. For me, like the 3 words that would make me think of Chromedia at the beginning would be something like exciting. It was a brand new project, doing something brand new for me. The first time with Jason, exploration. We originally started looking at building things that we thought would be amazing, and then grew that into helping other people because we recognized that we had created a team and a process that was very valuable. It would be valuable outside of just building projects internally. And I think that my last word would be something like kindness. I really felt like for Jason and I, the people were always really, really important, and that it was well beyond just hiring the best developers and designers we could find. It was, we felt very strongly about the culture and that we wanted to have good people, kind people, nice people that cared about their work and cared about each other. So those are my words.
Speaking of which, we have a question. I'm going to flip through that because it's a nice way to get the conversation going. Like, what would you think of the Chromedia fit when you're looking at applicants or people? What are your, I guess you can name at least 3 things as well, or you can go further to expound. You can say when you meet a person, yeah, they fit Chromedia.
Yeah, Jason can speak to this as well, but I think a lot of it really is beyond the technical skills. Like, clearly, they have to have the skills to accomplish the job, but we are looking for a type of person that really loves what they do, and loves working with other people. Jason,
I would say on a personal side, somebody who is open and willing to be friends with foreigners, right? Somebody who can handle speaking to us confidently, and it's okay if they're nervous and they have nosebleed because they can't find the English words, but so long as they're open to try to do that, that's really important. And then they can realize we're not so scary, and we're pretty easy to work with. And then I'd say on a professional level, the most important thing that I look for is somebody who's confident and smart enough to push back on some of our ideas. Because sometimes we can get a little too excited and we want too much done, and we always really appreciate it when even a fairly new hire will come up to us and say, I like what you're doing, but we have a better way of doing this. Here is our idea, and here are the reasons why we want to do it our way. Because I like to listen. We all like to listen. And we like people who bring up their own ideas and their own ways of doing it to the table. And we like to be open to try new things and things.
Yeah, I can attest to that. You just gotta talk back, speak your truth, I guess.
Yeah.
So, on that note as well, let's go back in history a bit. Looking back over 2 decades ago, is Chromedia right where you wanted it to be?
Well, first of all, I would say Chromedia is only 11%. Actually. But I've been working here for 2 decades, and sometimes that line blurs a little bit about how old Chromedia is. But Chromedia is only 11%. Yeah. So I would say, first of all, I'm very happy where Chromedia is right now. But I don't think I would have been saying that a couple of years ago. So I think the long answer is no, I don't think Chromedia is where it should have been. But that's because the nature of the business radically changed about, 4 years into it or so. The first 4 years, we had no clients. Do you remember that? Were you working for us back then?
I think I joined you
Maybe right
Because
around
you were hired originally to write content for Healthcare Abroad,
Yeah.
right?
Exactly.
You weren't a project manager.
I wasn't.
for this.
Yeah.
You just,
Yeah, correct.
that's-
So we just had internal projects for about the first 4 years, and no revenue whatsoever. So that was an extreme challenge for us. And then the nature of the business really changed to do software development outsourcing. And even then, Greg and I didn't focus on Chromedia as a software development company. Because we were so busy with, again, internal product. We were doing 2 things at once. We were doing Spoke Health for a number of years, and that was the primary focus for us. And then it wasn't really until when the pandemic first started that we decided to focus on Chromedia as a software development company. And the pandemic was difficult, but after that, when 100% of our focus was on that, the company really started to do well. So that's where we are right now, and that's where our focus is primarily going to be for the foreseeable future. So the lesson is that's something that we should have done probably 8 years ago. But we were so excited with these other projects that their success was always around the corner. But that corner kept going. So,
Yeah, I agree with all of that, and so am I happy with where Chromedia is now? Yes. Would I be happy if this is where Chromedia stayed? No.
Yeah.
Like I envision much bigger things. Like I'd like to have 150 of you here.
Yeah.
I'd like to have 3 times as many people. I envision much more expansion, possibly outside in different areas of the world. But I'm really, really excited about what we're doing right now. I'm excited about where we are and the trajectory that we're moving in is really, really compelling, and it makes me hopeful for the future.
I like how it feels like a phoenix rising out of the ashes of the pandemic, so to speak. That shift in gears and the trajectory. And it's an interesting take because I started out as a content specialist with the team, and I think that we'd be where we are right now. It seemed like a natural evolution, so to speak. And with the pandemic, I think what freed us up a lot was working from home remotely. But call back on the days when we did have a physical office. I don't know if that's still a fairly fresh thing you can pull up as a memory. But what would you say is, how do you describe it, the best working day you've had at Chromedia? It could be during the time you still have the physical office, or in the more recent years of our remote work. Is that something you'd be able to add? I think it changed the nature of our working day. But like, what would you call a best working day?
I can't give like necessarily a specific day, but there definitely are like those days where you feel like this is why I'm doing this, right? Like there are days where I have meetings with potential clients, and you hear them like light up with like that they're seeing an opportunity to solve a problem that they have, and that they're excited to talk to you, and I'm excited to talk to them because I can see how we can help them. And those are some of my personal favorite days, are those meetings with clients where everybody seems to be on the same page, and everything seems like the world is like full of hope, and everyone's like, this is gonna be amazing. You're like, I know it's gonna be great. So those are some of my favorite days.
Yeah, very similar to Greg. My favorite moments would be in the office when it was open, in the conference room, working on Spoke Health, and you and all the senior team leads are having sprint planning sessions, and I just kind of sit back in the corner and just watch the magic happen, And for hours it would just go. I wouldn't even have to interject very much. I would just watch and listen and say, this is magic. It's amazing how, Greg and my idea, we tell you the scope of the idea, and then you guys just run with it, and because it becomes something bigger than I could ever have imagined on my own. You guys are thinking of all these complex details, and it's just amazing to see that when that happens.
So in the history of Chromedia, we have a lot. Like, we're taking pictures earlier, calling out different teams from good old days and the more recent ones. What do you think is like the most brilliant project so far, and why? Or if you have any projects you'd like to tackle in the future, something you're looking forward to, or quote plans in our midst, what would it be?
I have a personal affinity for. We have a project called Debacle, which is a live broadcasting a platform to manage all of logistics around large television broadcasts. So things like they manage things like the NBA All-Star Game, the Tony Awards. They've done the Democratic National Convention. And so it's this system we've built from the ground up over, 8 years now with them. They've built it. We've had a complete redesign. And we're in the process of completely building it again in a more updated language with a more interactive user interface. And it's, for me, it's the ideal project. It's a client that understands how software development works. They understand their industry deeply. They value the long-term stable relationship, which allows us to really, really become experts in the product and in their field. And it deals with a lot of theater and performing stuff, which is a personal past life love of mine. So for me, that's my favorite project.
I would say probably the most technically interesting project that we've worked on in our history is probably the cruise round project. The way that the methodology that they use to build their products and use the data analytics to determine what the direction of that project goes is cutting edge ideas and methodologies. I can't even speak to it because when they start talking about how they do stuff, never seen anything like that in my career, never seen anything like that in technology. It's above and beyond high tech, pretty cool stuff. And the developers that are working on that project have come up to me independently a number of times and they'd say, that's the most amazing project I've ever worked on in my entire career. So I would say that project is very, very interesting. But I'll say personally, the project that was the most touching and I thought had the most potential was the healthcare platform. Just because I think that that was a system that truly could have made healthcare better in a country like the United States that so desperately needs a better system. But it was too big of a pill to swallow for a system that's just far too broken. But that said, in the future, I still really think there's a huge potential to take that platform, re-engineer and tool it a little bit for a cash pay market like the Philippines or Thailand or many other countries in the world. So I still have a lot of hope and excitement for that project in the future.
Speaking of futures, and Chromedia started out as a startup as well. Do you have one piece of advice you can give to startup companies in the IT industry?
Yeah, do the boring stuff. We get a lot of potential founders that come to us with an amazing idea, and pretty quickly you start asking them questions, and it's clear that they haven't either thought through all the technical problems that might come, or they haven't thought through the business model of how are you actually going to make money and does that make sense. Building products for product's sake is great if you don't need money, but for most founders, they're getting into this to run a business, and so they need to think through all of those aspects. And we are good partners for discussing a lot of those questions and answering a lot of those questions. But they're going to be the expert in their field, and we're here to partner and to assist. But they need to be ready to actually get their hands dirty and do some of that work to qualify and vet the project before they jump in with both feet.
Everything I would say everything Greg just said, and I'd add you should probably have 3 times more money than you ever thought you needed, and probably 5 to 10 times longer than you ever expected. I just have an idea. I pitched it to some rich guy in an elevator. He gave me money. We were successful in 2 months. Those stories exist, but it's like winning the lottery. It's not. It's the very, very small percentage outliers that can really pull up from nothing and make a successful company. So it takes a lot of people, and the boring stuff is the most important.
Especially if you're there for the long haul, you have to think long term.
You have to think long term.
So speaking of long term, what was the biggest challenge Chromedia had to face, and how did you overcome it?
I'd say
The pandemic was it was there was some dark days. It was scary. It was there was just so much uncertainty for everyone, and clearly it's this globally shared trauma that everyone has their own color and flavor of what their own personal struggles were with the pandemic. But it's something we all went through together. And for media, we were on the verge of selling one of our major internal projects, which would have provided Chromedia a really, really big team, guaranteed going forward for years, a large team.
A nice cushion.
And that within 3 days disappeared. And then a bunch of our clients work in, services that are no longer happening. They're no longer having large television events where they're bringing hundreds of people together to have them. They're no longer delivering food to office buildings because nobody's in office buildings. And, for us, Jason and I sat down and said, in as far as we can make this happen, we're not firing anyone. And we're not cutting anyone's hours, and we're not missing the payroll. And we didn't. And it was really hard. And we understood that our clients, we couldn't just tell them nothing can change on their end because their whole business has changed too. And so we worked closely with our clients to try and build a system that would make it so that they could keep us on in some capacity and we could make it less painful for them in the moment. And I really appreciate that they were willing to do that because there was definitely some risk on their side, but most of our clients came through for us when we needed them to, and that's that value of those long-term relationships we build with our clients, and the trust that we have in them and that they subsequently have in us to take care of each other.
There were moments during the pandemic where I remember Greg and I were talking. If we don't get a check from a payment from a client in the next couple of days, we're done. It was razor's edge, and it was very scary. But you never know in those moments if you're making the right decisions or the wrong decisions. And I'm so happy that we can look back on that and say, take every sacrifice that was made, living on the edge, the razor's edge for as many months as we did in a row, living hand to mouth by days. Now we can see, yay, it worked. But wow, there were other friends who are business owners that are like, you need to make the hard decisions. You need to make the call. Everybody else is doing it. Why you just have to do this? And I'm really happy we did it.
That was, and still is, I guess, in the most recent memory, the longest, the darkest tunnel to be in. But I'm glad we're out of it together and better. And it's a partnership, not just like with our clients, but internally for us. We knew guys were hurting because everybody else was hurting. But the team, the members, the employees, I hate to say employees because we really felt like one cohesive team on the same mind. We were also thinking, what's happening with Jason? How are we still getting what we're getting, not knowing behind the curtains? It's nice to draw the curtain back and show where you guys were, and hopefully we will be there again. But if we are, we'll pull through some way or another. On that note, what is the best part about being the founders of Chromedia?
Greg said it already. It's hanging out with the teams. It's the people for sure. There's no question about that. You know, if I had to have stand-up meetings with robots that were better developers and better designers, I'd hate my job every single day. So it's absolutely dealing with the teams. It's James having his hilarious moments, and it's fun. And if it wasn't for the fun people, I wouldn't want to do any of this. Who wants to build software? That's
It's really the people we have on the ride with you. So for people interested in joining Chromedia, what should they look forward to? What do you think?
What should they look forward to if they join Chromedia?
Yeah, if they're looking to join Chromedia.
I mean, they should look forward to getting to work with incredibly talented, passionate
who
people.
can guide them and mentor them.
Yeah, very deep stores of knowledge, lots of experience, but kind and approachable people. We've been here for about a week in Bangkok, and just everyone is so giving and thoughtful and open and easy to get along with. It feels really nice. And so you're gonna get to experience new projects, new technologies. We do work with a lot of startups, and so we are very often bleeding edge things, right?
Yeah.
We don't tend to have large entrenched corporate clients that you're building something that's going to be a cog in a machine in a bigger process. We build whole systems that you get to turn around and say, I made that. I built something. That's what I think you could look forward to.
Yeah, I think when somebody works for us, they quickly learn that they'll have balance in their life. So it's really important to Greg and I, and really important to our culture, that people have that actual authentic work-life balance, right? This is a partnership. This isn't a one-sided driven job for you where you're expected to work extra hours for less pay and be in a highly competitive environment to try to advance up to the next pay level or something like that. That's not at all how it works with us. If it's working really good for you, we want it to work really good for the employee so that it works really good for us and our clients too. And that's a win-win. We get better results out of people who are more happy.
Thank you, Jason, for that thoughtful answer, and thank you, Greg, for your insight as well. So with that, I hope you have something to look forward to when you join us, if you do join us. We have a lot in store. The future holds a lot of opportunities, not just for clients, but for team members, old and new. Thank you so much for your time. Bye. Hope you see you.